Hey guys, Ivan here, and in this video we're gonna talk about the top 5 bodybuilders who are inactive and would actually make the top 5, probably, maybe, at the Mr. Olympia if they competed this year. And this is really interesting. This didn't really happen, probably ever. Top 5 best bodybuilders not really being active. So we have Shawn Rhoden, who has been competing for a while now, for 2 years. We have Greene, who has been competing for a long time. We have Heath, who competed last year, skipped the previous year, but probably won't be competing this year, or we don't really know that. Roelly Winklaar, who didn't compete since 2019, and also Flex Lewis, who didn't compete since 2018, and decided to make a switch to go to the Open division. He decided to take 2 years off to grow actually and then compete in the Open. So he took a break 2019. 2020 came and he planned all along to compete that year, so he started his prep, but his old injury flared up, basically his shoulder injury. He was trying to mask that for a while and then it was really bothering him 2020, so he decided to take a break that year as well and go under a knife, and he actually had a surgery. Hopefully that's it. Hopefully it's just fixed. Hopefully he will be competing this year. But I see him in the gym. He's posting photos. He's training. I hope he's at his 100% to train really hard and to actually diet and do everything and to compete 2021. Because everybody is dying to see this guy against the top Open guys, because he was a 7 times 212 Mr. Olympia champion. We saw him compete against Roelly Winklaar. We saw him compete against Hari Chopin. These guys are top 3 in the world. So based on his previous performance against the top Open guys, he actually has a good chance of actually beating them and even winning the Mr. Olympia. Why not? Yeah, he's a bit shorter, but so what? He's not that much shorter. The other top guys aren't exactly tall, so yeah, he's close. And the thing is, he would always have to diet down really hard to actually fit in the weight cap. Because in the off season, you can see the photos of him and he looked massive. He looks enormous in the off season. And then he diets down and he probably loses a lot of water, a lot of weight. He probably sacrifices a lot of muscle as well. And on the showtime, he looks shredded, he looks good, he is like always at the limit of the weight cap. He's like 212 exactly, almost every year. And he beats everybody because he's so genetically gifted. He has basically no flaws in his physique. And he's a big guy, he can get shredded, but he is not living his full potential because he has to sacrifice so much. And now, without having to do that, with being more relaxed, without having to stress his body so much in the final days and weeks, and with having the ability to actually be much bigger, which is what his body wants, he's finally gonna fulfill his full potential, and that's why everybody is so excited to see him on that Open stage against the top Open guys, hopefully this year in 2021. I really hope so. Shawn Rhoden, he has been a top 3, top 4, top 5 guy for the bigger part of the last decade. And finally, he won the throne. He won the Mr. Olympia in 2018, beating Heath. Yeah, Phil wasn't at his best, which would be 2011, 12, 13, and all the other years, except for 2020, were better versions than 2018 version of him. Still, Shawn was really spot on. He was completely shredded. That was 90s conditioning, basically. He was so complete, so good, so ready, prepared, and of course he won the Mr. Olympia. Next year, he wasn't allowed to compete. And I'm sure most of you guys know what is the reason. You know the allegations, you heard about him. I don't want to breathe any more life into them, because what happened with innocent until proven guilty? But hey, I understand it, because Mr. Olympia is a business. After all, unfortunately, believe it or not, it is. And they probably didn't want to be represented by somebody who might be convicted for something pretty horrible, right? So that's why they didn't allow him to compete. But it's been, 3 years since then? Why they didn't resolve all those things? That's a different topic, that's a different issue, but I would really love to see Mr. Olympia actually inviting Shawn Rhoden. I mean, not inviting, but letting him compete, because he is qualified for life by winning that Mr. Olympia title. and I think he's a higher quality bodybuilder than Brandon Curry or Big Ramy or Phil Heath of today. So if he competed in 2019 and 2020, I think if he was at the same shape that he was in 2018, he would have won those shows. And as far as 2021, if all these guys competed, I would bet on Shawn actually, because he was in great shape only 3 years ago. Kai was in great shape but a long time ago. Phil, with his stomach, I don't think he can fix that. Roelly Winklaar, not super consistent. Flex Lois, short guy, we don't really know what to expect of him. Brandon Curry, Big Ramy, I don't think they are the same caliber as Shawn. I don't think Big Ramy has that kind of conditioning. I don't think Brandon Curry has those kind of legs. Hardy, great, but kind of short and has some flaws like arms, forearms, back double bicep, overall structure. Bonek also structure problems. So I think right now, today, the best bodybuilder, the most complete bodybuilder we have is Shawn Rhoden actually. He has some flaws as well, but his flaws are not really flaring. Like his arms, not the best. Back, not the best. Chest is fine. Lower body is just insane. And the midsection is just phenomenal. But overall it flows really well. And he can get ripped. And he is big enough. So I think he's the most complete bodybuilder of today. And it's really a shame. It's a real pity if he doesn't actually compete. If he doesn't show up and, in my opinion, wins that Mr. Olympia. So I hope these guys will let him compete. Next up, let's go briefly about this one. It's Greene, of course. Nobody really likes to talk about him anymore. He has been teasing us so much lately. And especially this year with Redcon. Aaron Singerman and Redcon are trying to make it seem like Kai is actually going to be competing. And there is the photo from Dan Solomon as well, who has been talking to Kai. Not with Shawn Rhoden, unfortunately, which caused a lot of disagreement from the fans. Everybody wants to see Shawn on the stage, not so much Kai, because Kai is a businessman, and I don't think he really wants to be back on that stage. I think he gave up on it, and everybody else is really tired of even considering this possibility, because we talked about it so many times and it never happened. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but it is what it is. Let's go with the next bodybuilder that I want to talk about, and that's Roelly Winklaar. 2018, he was third, after very good Shawn Rhoden and pretty good Phil Heath. So, in 2019, in my prediction videos, I thought he's gonna win it, but he didn't show up good. He somehow messed up his conditioning, he came watery, bloated, he didn't look at his best, and that's why he didn't win. I think he has more complete of a physique than Brandon Curry, and probably even Big Ramy. I mean, Brandon, he's great. His upper body is just phenomenal. But two small legs. That's it. That's the end of the argument. Same goes with Phil. Everything is great, but the bubble gut is just too much. Man, it's too much. Big Ramy, I don't really like his structure that much. And the conditioning, the maturity of the muscle, call it what you will. But he doesn't have that alive muscle. Like, for example, Roelly has. And also his waistline, he doesn't have the best V-taper, the legs are probably too big, not proportionate enough, and the lower back isn't really super dry, and that's something that Roelly has better than Ramy. I mean, his back is also his weakness, but it's not that bad, and overall he can get in better conditioning. He showed it to us, 2018, he was pretty ripped, so I think if he shows up this year, and for example, Shawn doesn't show up, Kai doesn't show up, I think he also has biggest chances of actually winning it if he dials it in properly, like good enough. I don't know if he can do it because he doesn't do it very often, but if he repeats 2018 conditioning, that's it, he's gonna win the Mr. Olympia, I think. And finally we have Phil Heath, who decided not to compete 2019. He decided to skip a year because he probably felt like he was robbed, and also it's more likely that it was because he had that hernia surgery and he decided to let it heal properly before he steps on stage again. So he stepped on the stage again 2020 and his stomach looked worse than before. And that's why he didn't even crack the top 2, he was third. He wasn't even second, he was third. So at this point, after being 7 times Mr. Olympia champion, going from first to second, then to third, risking going even lower than that the next year, I don't think would be a smart choice, and I don't think he thinks that as well. He didn't say he's gonna be competing in 2021, but he didn't say that he's not gonna be competing. So we cannot be sure what's gonna happen, but it seems like we're not gonna see him on that stage. But it might happen. I don't know. Maybe he's gonna fix it, because there were some photos, some stories of him where he was flexing his stomach, showing off his abs, and he's also not that old. He's actually pretty young for a bodybuilder, so maybe he can somehow manage to fix that stomach. You know, downsize a little and then probably grow a little. Maybe try to bring something similar to 2011 edition, where he wasn't as big as he was later on, but his stomach was in check. Maybe he can try to strive for that, and that, I mean, with his muscle bellies, with his completeness, with his conditioning, I think that would be probably, it could be good enough to actually win the Mr. Olympia again. So it's not impossible. I'm betting that he's probably not going to be competing again. I'm thinking his competition career is over. I think he's retired, but we don't know that. He didn't say that. So if he does compete again, he can win the Mr. Olympia. So overall, we have a very interesting situation. We have 5 bodybuilders who are inactive and who can actually all win the Mr. Olympia if they show up, if they look good, if they peak properly and everything, because they are the most complete bodybuilders that we have today, at least in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but if all these guys competed and they were all spot on, who do you think would win? Who do you think would actually win if they competed whichever way they are? I mean, if Kai didn't fix the problem with stomach, and if he actually did lose some muscle over the years, if Phil doesn't fix the bubble gut as well, and if Rhodes doesn't come super conditioned, if Flex doesn't come much bigger than he was in 2012, and if Shawn doesn't come super shredded as he was in 2018, overall, like the most realistic scenario, who do you think is the best one of these 5 guys? What do you think would happen if they competed in Mr. Olympia? How well would he do? How well would they do against Brandon and Hadi and Big Ramy? So what do you guys think about this? Tell me down below in the comment section. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe for more bodybuilding videos like this. All the best, guys, and bye bye.